here's Steve Young saying the quarterback San Francisco really wants is Zach Wilson. So it gets complicated. Where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, look, let's be honest here. The quarterback that they really want and that everyone wants is Trevor Lawrence, but they're not going to get him. They weren't able to trade up to 1, and they weren't able to trade up to 2 either, and that's likely because, as we understand it, the Jets are locked in on Zach Wilson and don't want to move off of that. So, you know, they can want whatever they want, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to get it. The Niners move up to 3. And to hear Kyle Shanahan talk last week is because they had come up with a list of 3 quarterbacks that they feel really good about. Presumably 2 of those are Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. The question, of course, is who is the third, because that's the most likely guy to land in San Francisco.
And I see, and we have it up on the screen, you told us last night that while the conventional wisdom seems to be leaning towards Mac Jones, you have your eye on Trey Lance.
Yeah, there's all you hear is Mac Jones to the 49ers. I mean, that's all over the league. And it could happen, right? I mean, he could be their guy. But conversations I've had the last couple days have led me to think that I can't rule out Trey Lance as a possibility. Look, if Jimmy Garoppolo is really going to still be on the team this year, which they've said, Lance is the one guy in this group that everybody kind of agrees needs a year, right? Because he hasn't really played much in college, only 1 game this past year. And we've talked about how few throws there are to evaluate of Trey Lance. So he has the athleticism, he has the size, he has the arm strength. You know, he kind of gives Kyle Shanahan the opportunity to sort of evolve his offense beyond where it's been, and I just don't think we can rule that out. The idea that Kyle has in mind a guy that can take him places that others previously have not been.
So there's a lot to unpack here. And Bart Scott, let's start with the first piece of this, and that is the idea that Zach Wilson and the 49ers love each other. Where does that leave the Jets, a team that you played for and you were still very close to, sitting at number 2? Does that change anything in your mind?
No, for me, it leaves the Jets exactly where they want to be. They control the draft. If they want to move out and get a king's ransom like San Francisco did to gave up to move up, then they can control the draft there. But if they believe that Sam Darnold is the key and they believe that Sam Darnold is a young quarterback that they want to kind of kick the can down the road with, give him an opportunity to have a year to evaluate and say that he can play, then you move out of the pick. But if they believe that Zach Wilson's the guy, then they're going to pick him. And maybe that's why San Francisco decided to go to 3, because the Jets weren't taking any calls for it. So we don't know, what's going to go on. When you get closer to the draft, you're going to see a lot more movement coming up. And I'm excited to see what happens.
You think the Jets could be in the middle of that? Again, you're close to them. You talk to people there. Do you still believe? We've been talking on this show all week, Bart.
Absolutely.
Like it is a foregone conclusion the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. Is that premature?
I don't believe so. I believe right now it's about Robert Saleh. We always talk about Sam Darnold, what would be a best fit for him to go and sit for a year, and we continue to say that it's the San Francisco 49ers. So if Mike LaFleur is going to bring the same system, then why not go ahead and keep the guy, see what he can do within your system? You can kick the can down the road. You can continue to acquire more draft equity so that you can make moves down the line. You don't have to pick up his option. You can continue to see and build around Sam Darnold, because the Russell Wilson is still out there and the Deshaun Watson may be a pipe dream, but it's still a possibility.
Dan Graziano, I see you want to jump in. Go ahead real quick before I get Jeff in.
Yeah, I mean, that may all be true, but the fact of the matter is the Niners were offering 3 first-round picks and a third-round pick, and the Jets weren't interested in having the conversation. So I can't believe they're going to turn that down and then sit at 2 and take somebody who's not a quarterback.
Right, that's the point. So they would either trade out of the spot to someone else, or they will take Zach Wilson. Hang on, let me get Jeff in for this. Yeah, we'll see. The possibility they could still trade to someone like Carolina or whatever the case may be theoretically remains out there. Unlikely, I grant you, unlikely though it feels. Go ahead, Jeff Saturday, jump in here. The idea that San Francisco is sitting at 3, that's such an attractive spot for any of these young quarterbacks. The biggest winner in all this might be whoever it is that winds up 3rd, yes?
That's 100% the truth. Put Trevor Lawrence in this conversation. The guy who goes 3 is going to be in the best position to win and be developed as a quarterback. When you think about Mike Shanahan and what he does in this system, this guy creates quarterbacks. I liken him to Andy Reid, right? Every time you go in here, he makes the best of his quarterbacks. You saw him take Jimmy Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. You saw him develop this football team. This team is ready to win right now. So whoever is in that 3 spot has to be excited about where they are. I love that Zach Wilson's family's like, man, we'd love to be in San Francisco. Every one of those quarterbacks' families would be really happy to go to San Francisco because, again, they're built to win now. They don't have the development issues that Jacksonville and the Jets both have. You got to like your spot at 3. Kids scored almost 80 touchdowns and had, 9 interceptions in 2 years at Ohio State, where he's playing great competition. And we're going to talk about processing. And by the way, every offensive system in college is developed to take the first read. I lived on a football field for 14 years in the NFL. Tom Moore used to scream at Peyton Manning, if the first read is there, you take it right now. Now we're going to criticize a kid who's taking his first read and doing exactly as he's coached. Think about how many times you look in college football and the quarterback looks to the sideline and gets his take and then takes what's there. That's what he's supposed to do. If Peyton Manning would have had that same criticism in year 1 of his career in the NFL, everybody would have said he was a bust, right? 20-plus interceptions. He's one of the smartest football players in NFL history. It takes time to learn how to process the game at the NFL level. Justin Fields is fully capable of doing that just like every other quarterback. I think this is absolute garbage, and it's just a way to put a guy and kind of sabotage his draft status. I don't get on board with it at all.
Bart Scott, what do you think?
Well, tell the Patriots quit sending out those messages so he falls to them so they can get a steal in the draft. I mean, that's usually what happens right now. It's a time of disinformation, right? So disinformation, you want to tear a prospect down in hopes that he can fall to you. You know, you think about what he's done. You think about the competition that he's going against. You think about what he was able to do against Clemson. When you're supposed to take what's open and what's available. Now, what they're trying to talk about is post-snap. Can he read the rotation of the safeties? Can he identify what the defensive coverage is when he goes off one progression? Can he go to his second read, his third read? Well, if my first read is open, then what the hell am I going to my third read for?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.